when the Earth heats up. It happens when greenhouse gases trap heat and light from the sun in the Earth's atmosphere, which increases temperature at high levels. As you may know, this problem started as the Industrial Revolution began. But when was this discovered?
Since the 19th century, this problem has been proposed. In the 96, and by this I mean 1896, Arrhenius, in conjunction with Thomas Chamberlain, was the first to propose that human activities could increase the global warming by the burn of fuels and carbon dioxide increase. These discoveries were forgotten until 1955. A work was published by Gilbert Platz, which concludes that increase of carbon dioxide, Earth overheated due to the uptaking of infrared rays.
In the early 1960s, Charles Keeling made the measurements to obtain the concentration of carbon dioxide in the atmosphere, which showed that the average temperature began to decrease, but in the 1980s began to increase intensively. For the first time, took into consideration the subject. Stephen Schneider, in the 1976, predicted the global warming. In the 1988, he formed the Intergovernmental Panel of Climate Change, with the function to observe the effects of greenhouse gases.
To have a better comprehension of global warming, we must study their causes.
Most climate scientists agree that the main cause of global warming is the human contribution to the increase of the greenhouse effect. But what's the greenhouse effect? According to NASA, sunlight passes through the atmospheres and warms up the Earth's surface. This heat is radiated back towards the space. Most of the outgoing heat is absorbed by the greenhouse gas molecules and re-emitted in all directions. Warming the surface of the Earth lowers the atmosphere. Those gases that contribute to the greenhouse effect include water vapor. This is the most abundant. The quantity of this substance increases as the Earth's atmosphere warms because of the evaporation occurring in the ocean. Carbon dioxide, released through natural processes such as respiration and volcano eruptions, and also human activities such as deforestation and burning fossil fuels.
Imagine that this apple is carbon monoxide. When carbon monoxide is released into the atmosphere, it reacts with hydroxide, and together they form or produce CO2 and water. CO2 is known to be the main substance or gas that causes global warming.
Methane is a far more active greenhouse gas than carbon dioxide, but also one which is much less abundant in the atmosphere.
Methane is considered to be the second main cause of global warming. Imagine this cell phone is methane. Once it's released into the air, it can react with oxygen and produce CO2, or it can continue to go up without reacting. But methane by itself is a pollutant.
Nitrous oxide, a powerful greenhouse gas produced by soil cultivation practice, especially the use of commercial and organic fertilizers, fossil fuel combustion, nitric acid production, and biomass burning. Chlorofluorocarbons, CFCs, synthetic compounds from industrial origin used in a number of applications, but now is slowly regulated in production due to an internal agreement for their ability to destroy the ozone layer.
CFCs are the main cause of ozone depletion, which is in direct relation with global warming. Imagine this cell phone being a CFC. When it is released, it goes up into the atmosphere and it can react with ultraviolet radiation. This is called photodissociation. That produces chlorine. This chlorine then reacts with ozone and produces chlorine monoxide. The chlorine monoxide reacts again with the ultraviolet radiation, and the result will be chlorine. These reactions go on and on and on. It's a cycle, and they use up the ozone in the atmosphere, causing the ozone depletion.
These gases found in the atmosphere trap the heat emitted by the sun and do not let it leave. This causes the temperature to rise more than normal. As you may see, life on Earth depends on the greenhouse effect, which is warm to a life-supporting average temperature. You, me, and even Adrian lives in a greenhouse. Actually, without it, life would be impossible. The problem is when you incredibly increase those gases, causing the global warming, and therefore the following consequences.
The most obvious one is the temperature rising. According to the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change, the last century the temperature rose 1.3 Fahrenheit, which is 0.75 degrees Celsius. It is expected that this century it will increase from 3 to 7 Fahrenheit and 2 to 4 degrees Celsius. This is the largest increase and faster than has happened in the last 10,000 years or more. It will cause hurricanes and storms to be more frequent and bigger because of the changes of temperature affecting air and water currents. There will be more evaporation, ergo the humidity of the soil will decrease, creating more and stronger heat waves, making the drought and forest fires repeatedly. According to NASA, the sea ice cover is melting in an alarming rate of 9% per decade. The ice thickness has diminished 40% since 1960 decade. Because of the fusion of ice portion in the poles, the sea level has increased about 4 to 8 inches in the last century. If this phenomenon doesn't stop, the sea level will keep rising due to the melting of the poles, and this will make coastal shorelines to be flooded. The International Panel on Climate Change says that the water levels of the sea could rise from 10 to 23 inches, more by the year of 2100. But in recent years, it has been proven that the sea levels have been rising more than expected. There also will be a rise in the quantity of rains. Nevertheless, some rivers and lakes will dry out among different year stations because evaporation will rise due to high temperatures. It will damage diverse ecosystems. For example, it will make the tropical regions to expand into higher latitudes. Forests will go through the regions of taiga and tundra. And also, many more areas to cultivate will get dry, making them desert regions. It could have many consequences on the weather and on the planet. But our health, people's health, will also be affected. According to an inform of the Health World Organization, 5 million of ill people and about 150,000 of deaths by year are consequence of the changes that are being produced in the weather. Heart and respiratory diseases, infections and bad nutrition are some examples of how the weather can affect in humans' health. Cardiovascular and respiratory systems will be damaged because in hot conditions a person forces himself a lot more to do any activity, making more pressure in these systems. Strong heat waves will cause severe heat problems. There also will be a rise in infection diseases caused by mosquitoes like dengue, cholera, malaria, and yellow fever, damaging a bigger world population because of the heat that expands to the tropical areas. WHO estimates that by the year of the 2030, the weather change will raise double the risk of various health parameters. The most increases will be given in diseases related with the floods, as likely as the malaria and cholera. Researchers of Texas University informed that there will also be an increase in kidney failures due to dehydration.
We can all do something to reduce the green gas emissions and the consequences of the global warming and even more things. Personally, we can and we should reduce the consumption of electric light to reduce the burning of fuels. Use fluorescent bulbs that reduces the 41% of the emissions. limit the consumption of water, and we can size the solar energy. Use public transport to reduce the emission of carbon dioxide. Locally, we can plant more trees, surround the houses to avoid the air conditioner. By globally, we can create the conscience in others of the importance of the impact that global warming is making nowadays. Fabric better cars, we can make a design of new hybrids and more efficient, and this will cause the batteries cost less and reduce the waste of resources. What we need is a visual politic that would invest in the changes of our daily customs. Leaders that would accept the challenge and that would improve the health and the economy in our environment. The Kyoto Protocol was a conference made by several countries about climate change. The conference took place in Kyoto, Japan, and the agreement was first signed on December 11, in 1997. Since then, 186 countries have agreed to cut their greenhouse gas emissions.